You think you know the Statue of Liberty? You don't. It wasn't born as a statue. It was born as a question. How do you build a symbol that speaks to millions without saying a single word? Miss this story, and you'll never look at her the same way again. Here's the part they don't teach in school. After the Civil War, America was destroyed, but united. Europe, a mess. Kings, fighting, revolts everywhere. In France, a man named Edward La Boulaye looked at America and saw something real. Not perfect, not clean, but a republic that held firm. His idea? A gift, not a painting, not a medal, a monument, visible from everywhere, a message. Freedom must be built and defended, but an idea like that needs an artist. Someone not afraid of big. Enter Frederick Auguste Bartholdi. Paris, ambitious, stubborn, obsessed with giant things. He knew one thing immediately. If this statue becomes a symbol, it can't be small. It must dominate. It must seem impossible. He searched for the spot, saw the island at the entrance to New York Harbor. And he knew anyone arriving by sea sees this first. Before buildings, before streets, before anything. That choice changed everything. Put it at the city's entrance, and it's not just a statue anymore. It's welcome. And a warning. Values matter here, or at least they should. But here's what nobody imagines. The Statue of Liberty isn't solid. It's not a block of stone. It's metal skin wrapped around a skeleton. That was the first nightmare. How do you build something dozens of meters tall that stands for centuries? Wind, cold, heat, rain. It all attacks. Copper was the answer. Light, easy to shape. Over time, it protects itself. Forms that green patina, everyone knows. But copper alone, not enough. You need something inside to hold it up and tear Gustav Eiffel. Yes, that Eiffel. He designed the interior like a tower, a strong central frame, supports that hold the copper without blocking it. And this part is crucial. The statue must move. Not much, but enough so it doesn't crack. Wind pushes, metal expands and contracts, make it rigid like a rock, and it breaks. So Eiffel built something smart, a system that lets the statue live. And the copper skin, not thick sheets. Thin ones, hammered and shaped with a technique called retrace. Every curve of the face, every fold of the robe, every strand of hair, every crease in the hand. Huge, slow, obsessive. Bartholdi wasn't just sculpting. He was running a construction site, built pieces, assembled them, took them apart, checked everything again. And around that Paris workshop, the brutal question grew louder. Who pays? The deal was simple. France builds the statue. America builds the pedestal. Simple? It was a nightmare. Both cost fortunes. People cheered for freedom, but when it was time to pay, silence. France launched subscriptions, events, lotteries, donations. Little by little, they raised the funds. America stalled. The pedestal couldn't be financed. Construction slowed. The project became an international embarrassment. Then something modern happened. Mass communication. Joseph Pulitzer, editor, journalist. He used his newspaper to push a campaign, not for the rich, for everyone. Direct message. If you want this symbol, prove it. Even with a coin, even with $1. It worked. Thousands of small contributions poured in. The pedestal restarted. The Statue of Liberty wasn't just a gift from above. It was built by participation. Now here's the part that almost broke the whole project. The statue was ready in France. They assembled it in Paris for a test. Piece by piece, copper skin, internal frame, every joint, checked everything. Only then did the gigantic problem appear. How do you get it to New York? You don't ship it whole. You dismantle it. Hundreds of pieces, numbered sorted, pat. Pure logistics. Lose one piece, bend one piece, and rebuilding becomes a nightmare. Crates loaded onto a French ship. The eyesore, and this is almost funny, Freedom crossed the ocean in boxers. Storms hit during the crossing, and here the story gets powerful. If that ship sinks, you don't lose cargo. You lose years of work. Money, reputation. A symbol that never even got born. The ship arrived. Crates unloaded. The island Bartholdi chose years ago finally became a real construction site. Bedloe's Island, now Liberty Island. The pedestal was ready, designed by Richard Maurice Hunt. Enormous. Heavy. Built like a fortress because, in a way, it was assembly began. Workers built the internal skeleton. Others attached copper panels, one by one. Every piece had to fit perfectly. A puzzle weighing tons, 1,886. The statue was inaugurated. From that moment, it stopped being a project. It became a fixed point, an object in the collective mind. But here's the contradiction. The freedom it represents is an ideal, not reality. During the same years the statue was built, America had deep wounds. Discrimination, tension, poverty, rights denied. So the statue isn't proof everything is fine. It's a promise things should be better. And that's what makes it powerful. Not a perfect reality, a goal, staring everyone in the face. Then came the most powerful transformation of all. Not technical, human. Late 1800s, early 1900s. Millions crossed the Atlantic to America. Many arrived, exhausted, sick, terrified. For so many, the first sign the journey was over. The statue, the symbol, changed. It started as a political gift. Then it became a gateway, a signal, an emotional boundary. On one side, the sea you left. On the other, a city you don't know. And in the middle, a giant figure that doesn't speak but makes itself understood. Now let's look closely. No mythology. Outside, copper. Inside, metal frame. Crown, 7 rays. Continents, seas. Freedom meant to be universal. Left hand, a tabla. July 4th, 1776. Declaration of Independence, and under her feet, most people miss this broken chains. Not always visible, but they're there. Clear message. Freedom isn't just welcome. It's breaking something. Breaking a bond. This is why Bartholdi designed her in motion. Not sitting, not still. Moving forward. The torch, its own story. Modified. Restored. An object exposed to elements for decades never stays the same. The statue has been a construction site multiple times. Maintenance, reinforcements, restorations, updates. Why a woman? Back then, freedom was often female. Artistic tradition. Symbolic tradition. Not a real person. An idea made human. But Bartholdi made her modern, tough, almost severe. She doesn't smile, isn't sweet. Her face says freedom isn't comfortable. It's responsibility. Look at how she's built. That message is technical too, not delicate. Designed to endure, the Statue of Liberty isn't famous because it's beautiful. It's famous because it's in the right place. At the right time, with the right meaning. Put the same statue in an inland park far from the port. Today, it's just another large statue, but it's at the entrance. The first thing you see, arriving from the sea, a signal before its art. That's the true genius. Not just how it was made, but where it was placed. It survived over a century. World wars, crises, social change. Migration waves, political conflict. Still standing. Why? Because it's a symbol built with metal and bolts that speaks to something never guaranteed. Freedom doesn't arrive complete, doesn't come fully assembled. It must be built piece by piece. Stop working, it falls. And maybe that's why she's still so powerful. Not because she promises a perfect world, but because she reminds us, relentlessly, that a better world takes constant work. If this story changed how you see her, you know what to do.